How important is physical attraction in marriage? How important is physical attraction in marriage? So, this is a very good question because it is quite relevant. It is practical. It really does affect all of us. Those who are married, those who intend to get married, those who've got some issues within their marriage. Now, the first thing that we'd like to mention is that while there is definitely importance in relation to attraction in marriage, it is certainly not the most important element, because the Prophet ﷺ indicated that if someone comes to you proposing the hand of your daughter or your charge, the one whom you are in charge of, and you are pleased with the person's religion and you are pleased with their character, then you should get them married. And if you don't do that, there's going to be great trouble, there's going to be great fitna in the land. So based on this, we can definitely understand that the most important elements are in fact the way the person handles their religion and also the person's akhlaq. Now, where does marriage then fit in? So the Prophet ﷺ is also reported to have said that a person often gets married for 4 reasons. And then one of those 4 he mentioned was for their looks, right? And for their beauty. Now, the Prophet ﷺ in this particular narration where he mentions the lineage and the beauty, and he mentions certain other aspects of the person, the hadith is actually indicating to why people generally get married. So reasons for which people generally get married, not as an encouragement that you should get married for these matters. Now, looks are important because one of the wisdoms in terms of nikah is that a person fulfills their carnal passions, their worldly desires or their lustful desires. And one's lustful desires has a direct correlation with attraction to the person that we are married to. And if you are not physically attracted to that person and there's a sense of dissatisfaction, this may lead to other issues that we don't want in our lives, where the husband or the wife, whoever is finding their spouse not to be too attractive, where they will look elsewhere and not lower their gaze. Remember when the Prophet ﷺ said to the group of youth, he said to the shabab, "Man istata'a minkum al-ba'a falyatazawwaj." Whosoever can among you, they should get married. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ, because it will assist them to lower their gaze. Right? وَأَحْصَنُ لِلْفَرْجِ, and it would assist them to preserve their chastity, to protect their chastity, meaning to guard their private parts against that which is haram. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, and whosoever is unable to get married, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, then such a person should practice fasting. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء, because it would be a shield for that person. So we can take this hadith and understand that getting married is in a sense a shield for one's iman, because you would have a halal way of fulfilling your desire, a permissible way, a blessed way of fulfilling your desire. When there's no attraction in the marriage, and here we will definitely qualify this further, but when there is no attraction in the marriage, you may not have this protecting shield, and it may be even more difficult to lower your gaze from that which is haram, and Allah knows best. So what do we mean by a level of physical attraction? Is it that you should only get married to someone when you are absolutely infatuated with their looks and they are the most beautiful person to you that you've ever seen? No, this is not required. As long as the person has a level of deen, a level of religious practice or religious devotion that pleases you, that you believe to be either above your own level or similar to your level, such that you are able to assist one another towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that is an acceptable level of deen. And if your level is not a good measure, then here is the correct measure, that the person stays away in the apparent sense from that which displeases Allah, from that which is haram, and the person does all of that which is obligatory. So the bare minimum is that they pray 5 times a day on time. This is your yardstick for religious practice in general. Then as far as akhlaq is concerned, the examinations that are required before one gets married is to ask the person questions, to see this person's interaction with their own family, to ask this person's loved ones, as well as other people who interact with this person. So, two people who are interested in getting married to each other, they should ask their friends, they should ask the other person's neighbors, the other person's teachers, the other person's parents. These are very good ways. And these days, of course, you have social media profiles as well, and that may help somewhat. Some of the other questions that one should also ask is about this person's past, this person's history. They may not want to divulge everything, but it may be important for one's decision in terms of marriage. And then one should also ask about the marriage of this person's parents. Was your father abusive to your mother? Do you come from a background of abuse? Because that's certainly going to have an impact in your own marriage as well. It's perfectly fine to ask the person about their whether they've preserved their virginity, their chastity, and so on and so forth. But then among the important matters, part of that is also to see whether you find the person that you are interested in getting married to, or you are speaking to them in terms of whether to get married or not. Do you find them pleasing? Do you find them non-revolting? Right? That's how I usually explain it to people. I know it's a bit of a crass way of understanding it or explaining it, but do I find myself completely unattracted? Am I revolted by this person's appearance? If so, it may not be a good idea for you to get married to this person, because you may find that this is a problem. However, if their character and their deen is so good that it allows you to overlook certain features that are not too appealing to you in terms of their looks, then you should certainly give that due consideration. Because remember, looks are going to fade, right? You're not always going to have that same level of attraction, even if the person at the time of getting married to them, the couple, they are both very young, very attractive, etc. Even if that is the case, remember, looks are going to fade. But akhlaq, having good akhlaq to start with, is likely not going to fade. It's likely going to get better, inshallah. And similarly, the person's level of deen, the person's level of iman, is likely going to increase if they start off on a good footing, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So that should be your primary consideration, but still do consider looks. Another way of understanding it is that, look, if this person is not going to be very attractive to me, in other words, if I'm not going to find pleasure in looking at this person and in being with this person, if I'm going to be revolted by this person, then how is this marriage going to aid me in terms of my religious devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of my ability to lower my gaze and so forth? So it is very important to give it some consideration, but not to place it at the top of one's list as far as requirements are concerned. I believe that the requirements should be, first, religious devotion, and here we can only judge by what is apparent. Then the person's akhlaq, their character, especially with their parents, their teachers, their neighbors, and even if they have domestic workers and the like, it's important to see how a person interacts with their peers, but also those who are socially not at their level, so to speak. That is another important interaction to look at, and Allah knows best. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.